Well, his death brings the era of two popes to a close, and with it, an end to a complex legacy. Pope Francis will preside over a funeral for Benedict this Thursday from the Vatican, where Benedict had been living. For more on what we should expect, we'd like to welcome Matthew Bunson. He's the executive editor and Washington bureau chief of EWTN News. Thank you for being here, Matthew.
Good to be with you.
Great to have you. We'll dive right in. So thousands of the faithful expected to pay tribute to the former Pope Emeritus. What is the significance of this?
Well, the significance is twofold. On the one hand, we are marking the funeral of a former pope, in this case, a unique position of a Pope Emeritus, someone who resigned the papacy, as we were just hearing, in 2013. That itself is unique. It's the first time in 600 years that we had a pope resign. But we're also celebrating and noting the life of Joseph Ratzinger, who from the Catholic standpoint certainly was one of the greatest theologians or Catholic intellectuals of not just the 20th century, but one of the greatest minds in the history of the Catholic Church. So there are two things really that are happening here. There is that funeral for a great theologian, but then much of this is centered on the fact that he served as Pope. And in that sense, there are liturgies, there are rites that have to be celebrated, and along with his life.
Interesting. So what can you tell us about the funeral that's planned now for Thursday?
Well, one of the things that's very clear is that in his own testament, in his own desire, he wanted to have a simple funeral. He lived simply. He was a man of deep prayer. He was also somebody of great humility. So we saw in his spiritual testament that was released just a couple of days ago, right after his death, he talks about the fact that he's asking for prayers. And that's really one of the things that's going to be at the heart of this funeral mass. So look for a liturgy or a mass that's going to be fairly straightforward. It's going to be simple in keeping with his own desires, and also with many of the same styles of Pope Francis. So we're likely to have, for example, a casket that will be on the floor of the St. Peter's Square, likely to have the Book of the Gospels, which is at the heart of not just the Church's teachings, but certainly was so central to Pope Benedict himself. A candle will likely be there as well. And then the gathered faithful saying farewell to Pope Benedict.
So how do you believe Benedict will be remembered, both as a pope and in his career before and afterward?
Yeah, I think the two go very much hand in hand. He was, as I was just mentioning, one of the greatest theologians in the history of the church, certainly of the 20th century. He has left behind an immense body of writings and teachings, all of it focused really on a love for God. One of his great writings, an encyclical is what it's called, had the title of Deus Caritas as God is love. So he'll be remembered for all of those teachings, but then he'll also be remembered that at the end of his time as a brilliant theologian, as an archbishop and a cardinal, he was elected pope to succeed one of the greatest popes in the history of the church. So he was comfortable enough to accept election under that shadow. And he lived as pope to carry on that legacy of John Paul II in defending the teachings of the church, but also helping the average person, the average Catholic, to understand them better. I think also he will be remembered as the first pope to resign in 600 years. We'll have to see if that becomes more than just a novelty on the part of Pope Benedict XVI, or this is something that we're actually going to see more popes do. There's a hint, for example, that Pope Francis is prepared to resign if his health deteriorates. So those are a couple of the markers I think that we'll be looking at. But above all, as time passes, I think, and we unpack his legacy of writings and teachings, that will be his legacy in the history of the church.
All right. Interesting as always. Matthew Bunson, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.